My name is John Boccuzzo from Long Island, New York.
So what year were you born? What day?
1920, December 13th, 1923.
1923.
1923. Wow.
And you were born on Long Island?
No, I was born in Brooklyn.
Okay, so why don't you talk a little bit about growing up?
Well, at 5 years old, I was raised in an orphan home
Okay.
in Farmingdale, Long Island. I stood there till I was 12 years old,
Uh-huh.
and then I was sent to Brooklyn Orphan Home
Okay.
till 16 years old, and from there I completed, up to 16 years old, I completed the orphanage, and then I was released from there, and discharged, well, I don't know how you would put it, but I was let go, and with a few other fellows of the same age, and we had to leave the orphan home because that was the rules. You could only stay there 16 years old.
Okay.
And then we were on our own, and then we picked Times Square, New York, for our place to live, because we were homeless, and we lived in Bryant Park, sleeping on park benches, and we didn't have a place to sleep or anything, because the YMCA's were all filled up, so our home was in the park.
Okay.
We slept on benches, and then later on we found that we can get ourselves, when it turned to winter time, we slept near the subway openings, so hot air came out,
warm.
and we put a piece of cardboard down, put newspapers around our legs, and then we slept there, and we got the hot air from the subways, and we survived that. After spending almost a year in the park, and
So what year would that have been that you spent a year?
1939, and then got my first job working in a sheet metal factory in Queens.
How many of you were there? Like in the park?
About 5 of us.
5 of you?
And we had a couple girls, because they could from the hanging out with us also from the orphan home where they were, because they had orphan homes for girls. And we got all together, and then Roosevelt, the priest in the YMCA told us that Roosevelt made a program to get the kids off the streets, to go to work.
Yeah.
And it was called the CCC, And then they told us that there'd be job openings, but they didn't tell us where we were going or anything.
Yeah, I know.
Then they told us we had to go to Fort Dix to get to where we were going to go.
Okay.
So they told us that we picked groups, like this group goes to Oregon, this group goes to Montana, this group goes to wherever, South Dakota, and they told me that this group, the group I was in, that we're going to Idaho, and I just made that we never heard of Idaho, and I don't know where the heck we were going, and so we were a little scared and stuff, because we thought we were going to another country or something, and so they told us to board the train the next day, and it was in the winter time, right, John? Mm-hmm.
January 40.
Yeah.
January 1940.
Then we took a train.
How was that?
Oh, the train was awful. Yeah, it had coal burning, and the soot. We breathed that in for almost 7 days. We had,
Yikes.
we just darkened up,
Yeah.
our faces and everything, and all that coal soot, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
And then we finally arrived in Boise, Idaho after 7 days.
Okay.
We got off in Boise, and there was Army trucks waiting for us to go to Camp Gallagher
Where was that?
in Crouch, Idaho. Then we got our assignment there. They told us that we'd be working for the Forest Department during the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And in the evenings we're under the Army rule.
Oh.
You know, doing our salute at night and flags and all. And then we arrived at the camp, got our assignment to what barrack we were living in. Was a group of at least 200 kids. Yeah.
Wow.
At least 200 kids. Yeah. All mostly from New York.
Yeah. What was the ages?
Oh, most of them were 17.
Including...
the reason why I got in
16.
at the tail end of 16 was because being an orphan, and they waived that part.
Okay.
Only for orphans where there were no parents, you know, whatever.
Right.
But the ones that had parents had to sign them at 17, yeah.
Okay.
That was the age.
Okay.
And they told us what, things to do and what our assignment was going to be. We're going to work for the forest department, cutting trees, fighting forest fires, building fences, working on Indian reservations, building ranger stations, and built small bridges that go over creeks, not rivers, creeks.
What do you remember about your time in Crouch? Like, what are some of the stories?
Well, Crouch was a small town, and we used to go there on weekends to, they had like dances and Saturday nights and Friday and Saturday nights, and we did and they had a general store, one big store,
Yeah.
a diner, and it's a very small town. I think it was only about 15 people at that time.
It's still about the same size.
And anyway, they had a general store, but they had this one big hall that I remember was a dance hall, and the fiddlers would come in and do the
Do-si-do.
do-si-do, I guess, and stuff like that.
The
So we had a lot of fun, and we done that, and then we saw movies and stuff like that, and it was a very small town, but it was a relaxation for a little bit.
Okay.
And then once a month we would go to Boise, Idaho to go to a movie and get our shoes repaired, and then we would go back to camp and we would do our assignments the same day again.
So,
working on, and then, but most of our work was mostly forest fires, and stuff like that. We had an army, we had mostly World War I people running the camps, like cooks, and we had officers running the camp.
A curfew? That time you had to be inside?
Oh yeah, we had to be inside,
Yeah.
But sometimes they let us go, like we used to walk to Stanley for a few miles.
Right.
And do things in Stanley, but Stanley was very small. There wasn't much to do there, so just look around and things like that. And then from there we left Idaho and we went to Oregon, John Day, Oregon, to finish the rest of my. I think there was 6 months. You had to sign every 6 months.
Oh really?
Yeah, every 6 months you had to sign up if you wanted to stay in another 6 months.
So you wintered in Crouch, and then right after Crouch, they took you up to Redfish.
And then
That's
I went to Oregon, yeah.
And then after Redfish, you finished in Oregon.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Redfish Lake was our summer camp.
Right.
Crouch was a winter camp.
Yeah. Okay.
And the roads were pretty rugged in those days. Yeah. Then we went. Then after Idaho, we were stationed in Oregon, John Day, Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And then I finished the rest of my time there, and then we got discharged. And like I said, I wanted to stay in Idaho because I was going with some girl in Idaho, and I wanted to stay in Idaho, but the rules were you had to go back to New York. And
right, you had to
after
return.
you gone to New York, then you can go back on your own.
Why did you have to go
Yeah,
back?
only so much time you can stay in, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it was only, you couldn't stay in there too long,
Right,
other
because-
kids had to come in. And then the Red Cross summoned me that I had to go back home, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because I didn't want to leave, and I wanted to stay out here. you
Okay.
know. And because I had no home to go to, being an orphan. And then,
What did you do with the Red Cross?
well, the Red Cross, because they talked me into it that they figured the Red Cross would help you out, you know.
I see.
Because being I didn't have parents to go back to New York, so they took care of the. And then I got back to New York, and I met my brothers, and we all got together, and then we lived in Corona. We found a room, a place for us to live in Corona, and had 3 brothers, including myself, you know, and then we went to my place, and then my next job was working for a cup company, paper cups, machinery. I worked on the machines, making them, and after that, I was in New York on a weekend, and we went to see a movie up in New York. And then when we came out of the movie, we saw people looking up at this Times Square building with the news flashing that Pearl Harbor got bombed. And then we looked at each other because we didn't know. I never heard of Pearl Harbor. I don't know where it was located. I don't know what was what.
Yeah.
And then we went home thinking nothing about it. And the next day we heard Roosevelt declared war and said every able-bodied young men, 18 to 26, I think it was at that time, to pick your branch of service you want to be in. And so we picked the next day we got together and we decided where we wanted to go. So one of my brothers went, well, we all took the Navy, 3 of us, and one took the Army.
Okay.
And then we got into I got into the Navy. I wanted to be a Marine first, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, at that time the
Semper
rules
Fi.
were you had to be 5'8". So I was only 5'6". So they turned me down on that, and they told me to get in the next line. They told me that I was too small for the Marines, and then they told me to go in the Army line, and they said I was too small for the Army at that time. But they changed the rules after that. You can go in no matter what size.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
they sent you to the Navy. That's a
and then the Navy took me. And then
Okay.
they looked at me and said, oh yeah, we can use guys like you because we need a lot of these guys to get into these bomber planes in the belly of the bomber where, you know,
Wow.
because I was small. But anyway, then then I went to boot camp up in New York State
Okay.
for training. Then from there you had to take different, you know, they asked if you wanted, first they asked me if I wanted to go to the submarine because submarines were volunteers.
Okay.
And I didn't
Submarine,
like
huh?
that because of the close quarters, you know, that they
Right.
live in. And so I didn't take that. And then the training wasn't bad. We had to do we had to pass the swimming requirements, you know.
Okay.
And then had to go on your back and do that. And then the tower came in where I was going to be assigned to an aircraft carrier, which the height is pretty. In case you got hit, you would have to jump off or whatever. Anyway, the tower in training was a high tower, and the rule was to jump off that feet first to go into the pool.
Jeez.
And that I didn't want to do. It took me a little while to do that.
Yeah.
So when I went up there, looked down, and then I didn't like it. Going down feet first. No diving. And so finally, after a few days, they told me, look, don't look down and stuff like that. Otherwise, you won't get. We didn't get leave to go into town, and that I wanted. So you know, so with this way here, we had fun in town, meeting girls,
Of
stuff
course.
like that.
Of course.
And then I did it.
Okay.
I went feet first into the pool, and then we had to swim up about so many yards, and then that was it.
Okay.
I finally made that jump. Oh, after that, we went to the Navy Yard to pick to show us the ship at Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
A Navy Yard, and then we had to
Camden
go there
Yard.
to look at the ship that we were assigned to, and then they were telling us that we were going down to break the ship in. They call shakedown cruise. That's what the
Shakedown.
name of it was. And then we had to go all the way up to Maine, Atlantic Ocean, the roughest water to go in. Went up to that toughest water so they can get used to the water. And then all that stuff down, and that's what they wanted us to do and stuff like that. Yeah, I took up, they looked at my records and they saw that I could type, which I took commercial course in a little bit in high school. I didn't finish high school. And I took up that, and then they told me the best thing to do is to become a radio man. We'll teach you the Morse code. And I had to go to school a little bit to learn how to do the Morse code with the typing. As I was typing, that whatever. And then I finally graduated from there, and they assigned me to communications, a radio man. That was my main job.
Okay.
And my battle station on board the aircraft carrier was a gunner, 20 millimeter gunner. When we were being attacked, we had to run to our battle station, and my battle station was a gunner.
You're on an aircraft carrier, right?
Right, on an aircraft carrier, yeah.
What one? What name?
USS Cabot. And our ship was used for bait also when other ships were hit. And we had when the two cruisers were hit, we had to go and protect the two cruisers from the Japanese planes, because once they crippled the ships, they would go after them and sink them. So that was our job, and we were in 9 battle engagements through the whole Pacific.
Wow.
Going from island to island.
Wow.
And we saw so many islands, which I never thought was in the Pacific.
There's a lot.
And then we finally got to, was getting to the close of the war in 1945, and they told us that the war is coming to a close.
Mm-hmm.
And we were we were ready to invade Japan. Mm-hmm. The battleships were lined up. They were ready to bombard Japan and then bring in the warplanes and the battleships opened fire and all that stuff and everything. And then they told us that the war was going to come to a close, and they told us all to go up on top of the flight deck to see this secret weapon that they're going to fire to end the war. And we didn't know what it was. And we were looking at each other, secret weapon, what could this be? It's got to be something terrible or whatever it was, And it was called the atom bomb, it was called, and they fired one of them, and we could see in the distance, very long distance, we could see a mushroom cloud, but we never knew what that was. Then they set off a second bomb, and they finally surrendered. The Japanese surrendered.
Yeah.
They surrendered aboard the battleship USS Missouri. And that was the end of the war, they told us, We all couldn't get out at once, and they just let us discharge a little at a time and stuff like that. And then I had to go to Rhode Island, and then they sent me to Long Island to be discharged from Lido Beach, and that's where I finally got home.
Wow.
And the war was over finally. Lost a brother in...
Why don't you talk a little bit more about him? Your brother, Henry?
My oldest brother.
Henry?
Henry. And he was all in the orphan home, and we looked up to him. He was the one that he took care of us all and made sure that we all stood together and being without a mother and a father. And then I missed him, and then after that, and it was...
How'd you hear about
and I heard I heard him when I copied a message, and being that it wasn't decoded, and the officer decoded it, and because all the messages were being decoded, we wouldn't know what we're typing.
Right.
And they decoded, and he came out and told me. When he decoded that my brother Henry was killed aboard a destroyer, went down with the ship, and that's he was 22 years old at that time, and I lost him.
Yeah.
And then I finally got home, was discharged from around Rhode Island, then I went to Toledo Beach to be discharged from the Navy, and
Lido.
and then we arrived home, and then the rest of our brothers got together, and then we found a rooming house, and we stood together for a while until.
Who's the rest of your brothers? How many?
Well, it was 3 of us left. Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
Let's go back now before
CCK.
before the war. Before the war.
Okay. That's 1940, I think.
Yeah. And let's talk about some of the stuff. Let's talk about some of the work that you did, and some of the fun stories you have from here in Idaho, either in Crouch or here at Redfish.
First camp was in Crouch, Idaho.
What's that? What's that picture you're holding now?
Camp. This is camp.
Oh, that's you.
Crouch, Idaho. Camp Gallagher, and I was assigned to that. And one of the barracks, and they were called they were built like army barracks.
Okay.
And we were assigned there, and they told us that we're going to work in the forest and.
So what does that mean? What do you mean work in the forest?
Doing fighting fires, and we're
Fighting
under the
fires?
forest department. We were assigned work every day. We worked like on Indian reservations, or we worked on building fences like that, and
What? Oh, these fences.
for the ranches, yeah.
The worm fence.
When they were damaged by cattle or whatever.
You'd
and,
work for the ranches.
yeah, I worked on ranches, and we worked on
Interesting.
Indian reservations. We worked on building the fire towers. We worked on roads. Our biggest road that we worked on was from Crouch to Lowman. We finished that road. It was all dirt road at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And
So what did you? So when you were out working on the roads, what did you do most of the time?
yeah, mostly, well, we graded it mostly, and then I had to do a lot of sloping.
Okay.
Like in those days, they sloped the sides of the road for, I guess, for rain or whatever, so they don't get too
Are
much.
you working by hand, or are you in a?
Yeah, most of it was all shovel and
Mm-hmm.
pick and shovel, they call it, I think. And
Pick and shovel,
so,
yeah.
that's what they call it.
Okay.
And we did most of that, and a lot of it was done by what they call caterpillars, tractors.
Yep.
That did that. And then we done a lot of clean up the creeks a little bit, and stuff. And we
Clean up the
we
creeks?
built the little bridges over the creeks.
When did you guys flip a truck? When did that happen?
When I was coming back from work, my mistake.
Were you here at Redfish or down
Well,
at
we were
Crouch?
working on the road, and
Okay.
when we were coming back, and somehow or other the driver of the car lost control. That's all we know. And he flipped over. Yeah, of course, there was no guardrails.
No.
No guardrails or nothing, so he went over, and all I can see from my truck, we all stopped, and all I saw was the truck bouncing off the sides of and going down into the Paya River. There was a lot of rocks.
How many
It was
guys
hit
were in
rock.
the truck?
I think we carried about 20, I think.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
17, 18, or 20, something like that.
What
It was close
happened?
to that. Well, he lost control somewhere. I don't know what. I never found out.
So
what
the
it
truck,
was, yeah.
so the truck went in the river.
He was gone too. Yeah.
Did they all drown?
Yeah. Well, when they hit the rocks and everything, I guess because that truck was bouncing in and out.
So no one survived in that
no,
truck.
no one survived. No, and the truck, they just left it there. They took all the bodies out, and then that was it.
Wow.
That I know of. Yeah, I lost a lot of friends of mine in my barrack.
Yeah.
I always remember one kid's name. His name was Lincoln. His last name. I always remember that name. Lincoln.
Where was he from? New York?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were all from New York.
Yeah.
Well, we talk kind of funny because the locals didn't understand us too much. But they knew we were from another place, so that's for sure.
So how was
city.
How was it getting along with the locals?
Oh, it was
Yeah.
it was good. Oh yeah, they were very friendly, especially
Were they-
the bar guys, but we couldn't drink. They told us not to drink it.
Yeah, well, they
Being
weren't-
young at
they
that
didn't want to
time.
be too friendly.
But there was a before we headed into Crouch, there was a little like a little saloon there where this guy pushed up the thing there, and he used to sell liquor and candies and all that kind of stuff. but he wouldn't sell us a liquor because underage, Idaho law, I guess.
That was in Crouch?
Yeah, Crouch, yeah.
Do you remember the name?
Yeah, his name was last name. All I know was mostly last names. I forget the first.
That's fine.
His
last
name was Curtis. Curtis. I don't know if anybody would know that.
And he ran a saloon, bar, and
yeah, he just
Crouch.
it was like a saloon. That was just it there, you know. But he sold everything from soup to nuts, you know. But he sold liquor and everything, but we couldn't drink, so.
Right.
And he just gave us, well, I would say root beer, because people don't know sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla, yeah.
My best friend was Bucky, called Bucky Garone, his last name, and back home.
How do you spell that?
Huh?
How do you spell that last name?
Garone. Buck Garone is what he always liked to be called, Buck.
Buck.
And Bucky, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a drummer. He was back home. He played the drums. He was in a band, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I got to know him. And then when he found out I was from Corona, and he was from also from Queens and Springfield Gardens, Queens.
You met him out here, right?
Yeah, I met him out here because I didn't know the group that we're with. We're all
and you guys were both from the same place.
And we were surprised, yeah.
Right. Okay.
And but he was an entertainer, drummer in a band. He was a good drummer.
What type of stuff did you guys get into when you were out here?
The what?
What did you guys do out here for fun?
For fun? Well,
you and Bucky. What did you guys do?
Oh well, we used to. We used to go to work during the day. We couldn't do too much. We used to just hang out and.
Yeah.
And then there was someone in town that used to show us movies. He had a movie camera, and we used to come to the camp and show us the latest movies. And the last picture I saw that he showed us was Destiny Rise Again.
Yeah.
I remember that one. They only gave us $8 a month to spend. The rest of it, they would put it aside till you discharge, and you would get that in a check form, whatever it was, by the government.
Right.
And the $8 you spent for yourself, whatever you wanted. So, like I said, everything was nickels and dimes. At $8, you couldn't spend that fast.
So the money that you didn't get, the $22.
Yeah, it was sent.
Where did they send that?
The government saved that.
Okay.
And then when you got discharged, and they would give you all.
They would give it all.
I believe it came to. It seemed like it was going to be a hell of a lot, but it was only $700, $800, something like that.
That's not bad.
And so when I got home, I splurged it a little bit.
But a lot of kids that you worked with, their money was sent back to their families.
To their families, if they had families. I didn't have a family, so they saved it for you if you didn't have someone to give it to,
Right.
That's why, yeah.
Put that to him?
That's we had. That was our rations, yeah.
When you're out on fires?
Most of it was like fruit and
dried fruit.
Dried fruit and different, stuff like that you can eat, and they were packed. All these were packed on mules because they use mules mostly because they're good climbers, than horses,
Yeah.
A little stubborn, but they. And that was our rations, and that
was. But it says a one.
Yeah, this was
on
the Idaho Montana border.
When you're up in the Bitterroots.
Northern region.
You're up in the Bitterroots.
Yeah,
fighting fires.
And the U.S. Forest Fire,
yeah. So you left Crouch and you came up to Redfish, right, for the summer.
That's right. That was our summer camp.
Summer of 1940.
Yeah.
And what did you do up here? Up in Stanley?
Stanley? Well, we did the same thing over here. Yeah, almost the same thing up here, too. But they didn't, but no Indian reservation because there was nothing around.
What roads did you work on?
Well, the only road that we worked on, and then we also worked a little bit on that road into the camp there, before it goes to the Redfish Lake Lodge. Yeah, that road. I don't know what that dirt road was just to lead into that place. And
what else did you do? Did you fought fires? You fought fires up here?
Yeah, we fought a lot of. I think that was mostly around here.
Like a lot of guys.
Well, the biggest one I remember was like the one.
In the Bitterroots.
On Bitterroot area. That's a salmon area. Salmon, Idaho, up. There's sand point. Is there a sand point there?
There is, but that's much further north.
Well, anyway, it's salmon area, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Salmon,
Yeah,
Idaho.
salmon area.
Yeah.
That's where, and that I think they called it the Bitterroot Mountain area.
Yeah, yeah.
And we fought. That took a long time to get under control. Almost a month.
That was in the summer.
In the summer, that's right. Boy, that was raging. That was scary.
Yeah, that is scary.
Yeah, and
those fires.
And what I remember about the fire, mostly when it was over,
Mm-hmm.
it was ashes about this deep.
Wow.
Looked like another planet.
Wow.
God Almighty, what! And all we saw was burnt trees, and we saw a lot of animals dead.
Mm-hmm.
We saw some live ones looking for their buddies, I guess, you know. And then,
So when you're on the fires, typically you're just digging trenches, things like that,
yeah,
to try and stop the
up
fire.
in the Redfish Lake was mostly, we done that, and I forgot what else we did around there.
Bridges? Bridges?
Oh, bridges mostly, over these creeks, little things like that. And, of course, after we finished Loman, that's how we, But that was our summer camp, and I guess it was supposed to be, you know, because we lived in tents. But we used to walk from Redfish Lake, I tell you, all the way to Stanley, you know. But we had to get back before it got dark, because we didn't want the animals to follow us, you know. Them son of a guns, they would attack your boy, that'll be the end of you. Yeah, they were after you in the dark, right? But we didn't work too many hours, though. They used to send us out. We did more traveling than working. And then we got to the place, maybe we had 3 or 4 hours to work, and then we were bored again, and go back to the camp again, you know.
So what'd you normally...
But we had to take lunch with us, you know.
What'd you normally do on the weekends?
What did I do on weekend?
Yeah.
Well, mostly into town in Crouch, and Garden Valley didn't have too much. They had we built that ranger station. Some of it anyway, that's in Garden Valley.
This is your first time back to Idaho? Since 1940?
Oh, I'll tell you, I just can't get over it, because being here when I was a kid and coming back when I'm old, it's really something that I don't think I'll forget it, though, to tell you the truth. This is very, it's amazing when the way I feel, looking around, a lot of this stuff comes up. Mm-hmm. And brings me back to the days, you know. Well, we had our good times, and not too many bad times, though. Just that truck incident, but everything else was good. Kids were good. We never had any skirmishes and things like that. That, you know, never caused problems. Most of the kids that I was with, most of them a little more rougher than I was, you know. They come from the city, you know.
Yeah.
And they came from Manhattan. That's the worst part at that time. Oh, the best food.
How did you get...
The best food is in the CC camp that I ate.
Really?
Better than the home, better than the Navy.
Wow.
The best food I ate was in the CC camps. Oh, my God. Those World War I cooks, they were good. They gave us good breakfast and stuff that I never ate when I was a kid. I think I consider that the best part of my life, I think, was the CC camp. I learned a lot in the CC camp.
Yeah.
You know, different things, different part of the country that I never thought it was in the United States. You know, like I said, I never heard of Idaho. But like I say, this was the best time of my life, I think. I was scared when I came out here, because on the train scared me, because I didn't know where I was going. Mm-hmm. All they told us, we're going to Boise, and over there you're going up into the mountains to go to the camp in Idaho. It's a rough, but a lot of it was rough. I don't like to get into it, you know, in the city part, you know. That Brooklyn part, oh.
Yeah.
Growing up in Brooklyn from 12 years, when they sent me to that home in Brooklyn, that was my nightmare.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about that area. Oh,
no. It's more fun to talk about Idaho, huh?
Huh?
It's more fun to talk about Idaho.
Oh my God, what a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said everything in the orphan home and then in the Navy, the best was the CC camp. All right, goodbye.